my skin so gorgeous. We thank the life gorgeous. Thank the life gorgeous. I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Life Gorgeous. This is where I share my magical life in hopes of improving your life. My name is Craigers, and we're joined by my old friend Dane Moore from the Dane Moore podcast, a very intense Timberwolves podcast. He's been doing it for a number of years. And Dane, it's always a joy for me to have you on because I get to talk about my Wolves, and they're more important to me than martinis. That's how important the Wolves are to me.
Wow. More than martinis. I'm in Vegas right now. I've had too many martinis over the last
well, if
few
you're
days.
hanging out with Kyle Teige, then you definitely have. Yes, you're in Vegas. I wanted to wait until we saw the first two Summer League games to talk about the draft class. I'm very excited about it. Although, I want to be honest, I don't know which one of us is harder on the Wolves, you or me. But after the draft, I was ecstatic. I do not follow college hoops. I'm one of those guys that when the draft comes up, I start reading about them and watching their highlights, etc. And I actually had a question in here that I'm not going to use now because we were going to talk a few weeks ago after the draft. And it was true or false. After his second season with the Wolves, Rob Dillingham will be the second best player on the team. That's how fired up I was.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts? Let's go right to Rob Dillingham, point guard, Kentucky, 8th pick, 2 games. Go ahead. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, well, I would say, first of all, too, I'm the same way. I mean, I'm doing NBA all during the season, so I'm not, obviously a player at Kentucky like Rob, you see a little bit of just because they're in the whatever, like Sports Center vortex.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't know much about him. And, after they drafted him, you go and much like you're watching the film and some of that stuff. But this has been my first time seeing him in person here. And I will say the first thing I noticed was he's not big.
Oh,
he's a little dude,
yeah.
man.
Yeah.
It's like, it's like,
wait. I looked up the numbers, and my brother and I were doing this after the draft. And we go, man, he's tiny. How does he compare to Mike Conley in person?
So Mike's like jacked,
Okay.
but probably height wise about the same. But Mike's I think I looked it up. Mike, when he came out of the draft without shoes, was 5'11".
Yes.
And Rob measured at the combine 6'1" without shoes.
Yes.
But I'm telling you, man, I don't think he's 6'1". Like it's like one of those things when he's like skinnier, maybe it like makes him shorter, but he's definitely significantly shorter than you and I.
Right.
Significantly shorter.
Yeah.
But like that's all negative. No, like he's fun. Like everybody's gonna love him. It's gonna be again, this is my first time being around him, interviewing him. Like him and Ant in the locker room, the clips, the interviews, it's going to be a blast. And like, he's going to get buckets. Like my basketball take on the draft pick is what better team to take a little dude who's all offense and no defense than the Minnesota Timberwolves, who are all defense and minimal offense.
Right.
It's that to that end, it makes a ton of sense to me.
Well, I was surprised that San Antonio passed on him, but they did have the 4th pick. But we don't know how. So I think it's safe to say we don't know how good he's going to be. What I liked, what I saw, I was disappointed in his shooting. I want pure shooters. I don't know yet what he is. That's okay. But man, is he quick. Man, can he handle the ball.
Right.
And it's such a luxury in the NBA. The half-court offense when a guy can just break a guy down and get into the lane, whether he dishes or shoots.
Yeah.
Now he did, last night, I think he had 12 or 14, but he had
8 assists.
Yeah, but he missed some layups that I thought he might make, maybe because of his strength. The one where he missed on the left side, then the guy got the rebound, gave it to him, and he scored.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm just looking because I watched Summer League. I saw Randy Foye be the MVP. I saw Tyus Jones do well. You gotta chill out. So I'm excited, but I'm measured now because, he does float a little bit on his jump shot. But here's the good news. Ant was so raw coming into the league, and he's worked hard on his jump shot. This guy will get the coaching and just get better and better on some of the things I'm concerned about. The defense, I don't know yet. That's another wild.
The defense is going to be bad. He'll get better. All the offensive things. The offensive things are going to come. I think the only thing right now that's holding him back from being a real NBA scorer right now is the size and the physicality, right? But he is 19 years old. Some of that, he's never going to be big, but being able to, he said when we were interviewing him yesterday, is like, I need to be able to take those bumps. When I'm coming off a pick and roll and I'm looking to get downhill or go east-west, whatever, I can't be thrown off by the bump. But at 165 pounds, and now you're playing against this level of player, you're going to get bumped.
Did you, any comps to I saw some of the guys you put up there on your X account, but Nate Archibald was, what's that?
You're on X now? I thought you were.
No, I had to have a fictitious one with this gorgeous actor from the 60s. So I get these, I have never posted a comment or a like. I just read you and Britt and Dan Barrero and Mark Rosen and John Krasinski, just so I can read the stuff. They now force you to do that. But, Nate Archibald was tiny Archibald.
Sure.
And anybody you would compare him to now in the league, Rob Dillingham?
I think Trae Young is the optimistic. If we're talking about from a size perspective,
that's a good one. For some reason, I didn't even think of him. How tall is Trae Young?
They're about the same size. About the same size, about 6 flat. Trae's put on since college, has put on a little bit of weight. But I think that's the idea, right? It's the type of player that the offense is going to be so impactful that, even if the defense isn't there due to being really undersized, you still know that that's an impactful player. Think about Trae Young on the Wolves. Not that Trae Young isn't a flawed player, and I know some people just don't like him in general,
right?
Flopping or whatever. But Trae Young can hoop,
he's a better shooter, correct?
Yeah, well, we're sitting here after 2 summer league games, and Rob's been missing up.
Well, we can do it. We're having fun. We can do it.
I don't. I have no concerns about the offensive element of Rob Dillingham's game. There's just everybody I've talked to. It's that never comes up. It's only the size. It's only the defense. So I think one of those offensive players next to Anthony Edwards, next to a Karl Anthony Towns. I also was thinking about it yesterday, Rudy setting screens for him.
Yeah.
I think when you're talking about that, he may not be strong enough right now to create his own advantages. But Rudy, that's, I think, one of the most underrated parts of Rudy's game is that intention of screen setting. I know that's not sexy talk there, but that matters,
So,
I think we saw that.
So my thing is, I assume he'll get stronger. That's kind of natural. My main concern is, because I want shooters, how pure a shooter he is. That's my main concern.
Yeah, it doesn't look like he's a pure shooter. Right?
No, but I want to see how streaky he is. Yeah. But I want to. You like stats. I like stats. I'm obsessed in my whole life with field goal percentage. That's why I love KAT. Sure. Still can't believe he shot 54% his first 3 years in the NBA. So I just looked up Trae Young as you were talking because I had forgotten about him. I just wanted to see the college stats. Now, Rob Dillingham did not start at Kentucky, and he played, I think it's 22. I can't remember how many minutes he played. So you might think this is not fair, but I looked up Allen Iverson's college stats at Georgetown.
Let's go.
So this is kind of stunning. So freshman year, Allen Iverson shot 39% from the field. It jumped up his sophomore year to 48%. He only played 2 years.
Okay.
So 39%. Rob Dillingham, 47.5. From 3, Rob Dillingham 44, as a freshman, Allen Iverson shot 23% on threes, 23%,
Wow.
went up to 36%. He made a big jump. His free throws, which I like to look at for pure shooting sometimes. Allen Iverson, as a freshman, shot 68%. It went down to 67.
Wow.
Free throws. As an NBA, his career was 78% in the NBA. Rob Dillingham, as a freshman, shot 79.6 on free throws. So those are some good signs, right?
Yeah. No, for sure. It's not, he's like the movement shooter, right? Like he's getting to his shot, off the dribble. It's not your classic like spot up, catch and shoot sort of guy. And I think that there's something, to that, like that he's going to be able to get to the shot in any which way. Like, I don't think if Greg, like if he can't shoot, like he's not going to be in the league, right? Like, so he's the eighth overall pick. Like, he's gonna.
Well, I mean more streaky. I mean, like, D'Lo's streaky. I want to know, is Dennis Schrader, is she streaky? I don't remember, but I just want to know how pure he's going to be.
Mm-hmm.
But he is fun to watch because of how shifty he is. It is a joy to watch that. So
I think
I guess my next question is, it's still early. How many minutes is he going to play as a rookie?
Well, that's the real question, because there's a lot of point guards on this team, man. And Mike's going to be 37, Mike Conley.
Ooh, yeah.
And then Rob Dillingham's the backup point guard.
Yeah. I mean,
so
sometimes they would start something. Yeah, sometimes they play Naw with Ant or something, but a couple of years ago, I'm always looking for hope. I'm one of these guys that a couple of years ago, Daishan Nix, I was excited about him because Finchy played him in the regular season, and Finchy was like, "Why? I've been watching him in practice, and I'd seen his highlights with Houston, and he's strong." So, I mean, I guess my question is this: you've got this Nader Hi-Fi, which is a fun name, the guy from France. Looks like he can shoot pretty well. Are either of those guys? I don't know if he's going to make the team. We need to replace J-Mac. Where did J-Mac go? Sacramento. Yeah. So J-Mac was not a great shooter, but he sure hit a lot of threes this past year. But he was a heady player. Always make those steals, hit the winning shot down to Miami, etc. Can Daishan Nix be better than J-Mac?
I'm a Daishan Nix fan, and I think right now he would be the third point guard in the pecking order. I think part of the and Daishan Nix is on a 2-way contract, so for people that don't know what that means, is he can go down to the G League or up with the big team. So he's not on a real contract. So a lot of people are sitting there right now looking at this Wolves roster, going, "All right, like, why? Who's the third point guard?" And Craig, don't you think like there's just more Ant running the point, right? Like, given what we saw at the end of last season and in the playoffs, and like you said, maybe Nikhil's out there with him, but maybe that's part of the answer of like encompassing these. Yeah,
it is. It helps Ant, takes pressure off him when Mike Conley can handle the ball sometimes. But I understand what you're saying, especially late in the game. I see what they do in Oklahoma City with Shea. They just give Shea the ball, let everyone spread out, let him go one-on-one and either score or pass. And that's what they do with Ant. But I'm one of those guys that loves point guards. I love passing. I love tempo of the game, floor game. When the offense is shut down, the guy just drives. I mean, you saw him, Rob Dillingham just drove on the guy early on and had a layup. That was easy, but it breaks down the defense. But yeah, I'm just thinking, I'm a fan of point guards, and I know it helps. And I'm not a big fan. I think we lost our best passer in Slow-Mo. He might be tied with Conley as passer, but I liked Slow-Mo as a passer, and I'm just concerned about turnovers and stuff. But so Daishan, well, let me jump to before we get to the excitement of Terrence Shannon Jr., let me jump to this question. Give me the 4 guys off the bench this year in order, and you can go up to 5 if you want. You can go to the 5th.
Well, Naz Reid was 6th man of the year last year, so we're putting him there right away. Nickeil Alexander-Walker, I would say he's the 7th. Rob Dillingham, he's there. I mean, they've said he's going to play. Like,
Right.
there's going to be no waiting there. And then if you had asked me before Summer League, I would have said Joe Ingles, and maybe that's part of the point guard answer for the 4th guy off the bench. But I think this is your way of segueing into Terrence Shannon Jr., who, I mean, I know you've seen in the 2 Wolves games, but I've been at the gym every day, and he's been one of the best players here, period, not just on the Timberwolves. Right. It's been pretty good. So if you're going to give me, if I can go to 10, I'll put Shannon in there. For sure.
Okay. So I'm going to give you mine, and then we're going to talk Shannon. Nas,
okay.
6th. I actually have, I'm crazy right now, and it's going to be, I have Dillingham as the 7th guy. I have Shannon then I have Naw, and then I have Ingles. But
I'm down at 9. Come on, man.
Yeah, I'm being unrealistic, but I want to push. I want to see what Dillingham can do. I want to,
yeah.
And part of my thing is, and I love Naw. I'm trying to win a championship, and I want to push. I thought Monte Morris was a better basketball player than Naw, but he didn't pan out. I was really high on him. Never got his rhythm going, and that was unfortunate. But that's life.
Didn't know you were a Naw hater, man.
No, I like Naw. I'm trying to win a championship. I like J-Mac. I'll be rooting for him in Sacramento.
Me too.
But I love Naw's special. I needed more consistency on his 3-pointer, but
Yeah.
So
that's a good bench. Can we just say that that's a good bench?
Right yeah.
There? Like that's it's deep.
Yeah.
Too.
If Ingles has anything left, he's fun to watch. I want more arc on his shot. No, I'm just kidding. He has rainbow threes.
His nasty shooter. He's like, look up those field goal percentages. Joe Ingles that's going to make a difference. That's going to make a difference. Ingles shooting.
So, Slow-mo could guard Luka. I saw him strip Luka and Ja Morant, and it was a little reach in. So I understand he was infuriating for some fans because of his shooting, but I was a big Slow-mo fan. So let's go to Terrence Shannon Jr.
Yeah, man, give me what do you say?
What weird thing jumps out at you about him? I want to see if you notice this. This makes me laugh.
Are you going to say his like really small, tight shorts?
No.
Okay.
No.
Is it a basketball thing?
Yes, it's a basketball thing.
I mean,
I can give you a hint.
Okay, well, give me
years ago, when I back in 2003 or 4, when the Phoenix Suns were very good with Nashi,
sure.
I walked into this restaurant called Capo, which is still there in Santa Monica, and there was an NBA ball player at the bar. And it was Sean Marion, and he had knew me from the show, and he looked at me and knew I was a hoop fan. He smiled, and I went like this.
Yeah.
With his form. Remember his form?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, Terrence Shannon Jr. has better form. I mean, he has more of a left, but he has a low release point. Man.
He does. But
goes in.
If we want to roll through Wolves shooting forms on the team, I mean, Jaden's is gross, Nikhil's is gross, Kyle Anderson is the grossest ever.
Right.
J-Mac had a terrible looking shot. I think Shannon, I was surprised to, like we both did, you're reading the scouting reports or whatever, leading up to the draft or afterwards. And there's like questions about Shannon's shot. Like, I don't know. I'm not seeing, I mean, he's more of a downhill guy, right? Like we know that.
Well,
he's trying to get downhill.
My thing is this. First of all, he has good form.
Mm-hmm.
Steph, there was a joke when the Warriors went to the White House and Barack Obama said, do we all know that Klay has a better form than Steph? He did this joke because Klay Thompson has great form and Steph has more of a set shot. But no, Shannon's motion is beautiful. Mm-hmm. It's just low. And then in my head, I said, so when he goes to the hoop and pulls up at 10 feet, he obviously doesn't shoot from here. He raises it up. He shoots it higher. Mm-hmm. I guess first of all, I'm ecstatic about this guy. Yeah. He's an athlete. He's fast. He can score. He is downhill. I mean, I think he's special. I could tell you I think he's better than Naw, but I don't want to offend you and attack Naw because it's shifted in. I love Naw. I'm just trying to improve the team. That's all. But there's a criticism I have of the great Karl Anthony Towns. And his thing is spot up shooter or line drive to the hoop.
Mhm.
Nothing mid range. He doesn't do Brandon Ingram or Kevin Durant pull up.
Yeah.
So I don't think TJ, Terrence Shannon Jr., does pull ups. I don't know. I haven't seen his game enough, but I am ecstatic about his game right now.
Right. No, I love it too. And I could see it fitting into the context of the Wolves too, right? Like I got to interview him yesterday, and he talked about, obviously on the summer league team, how he's the main guy out there, right? And he was like, "Hey, I know once we're back in Minnesota, it's Ant and KAT are getting all the shots, and my job is to go be in the corner, attack the basket situationally, and if two guys are on me, pass it."
Right.
I think there's a real maturity and a literal maturity. He turns 24 in a couple weeks here, which is probably influencing what we're seeing with him compared to what we're seeing with Dillingham. I mean, he's literally almost 5 years older than Dillingham. But can't you see that player fitting into the context of the Wolves and maybe replacing some of that Kyle Anderson size defensively? You talk about guarding Luka. Yeah. Just talking to the front office guys here, they've referenced that of we were a big physical wing away from being able to handle Dallas. Just defensively, because as good of a defender as Naw is, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's I don't know what 185 or something like that, and Luka's a Mack truck, So that I also like that about Shannon is I think defensively, and maybe that's even where we'll see his impact even more if and when the season comes. Just because he's not gonna have the ball in his hands as much. But I just think what a win to come back from summer league and be like, yeah, that guy's a rotation player. It's what Kyle and I were talking about last night of man, that they need that. They need that bankable.
I think what sometimes offends Timberwolves fans like yourself and other guys that I might talk to is when I'm competitive and I'll say, I do this sometimes. Maybe I should do it privately. I just this guy's he's better than Jaden. He's a better basketball player because I just don't think I'm attacking Naw. But no, this guy is a ball player. Yeah. I think he's really special. I love that he's so strong. He is kind of really fast. He's almost built like a sprinter somehow. But yeah, my only concern really was his mid-range, how he's going to handle the mid-range shot. And we'll see because I haven't seen him play enough. Yeah. But, they threw it. Dillingham threw it to him on the wing in the second half, and he just drove and got fouled. I was like, that's like Michael Beasley left-handed. It's so effortless.
That's a good one. I like that. Yeah.
I wasn't sure who. Too. What's that?
He's big. Like in person. Shannon. And maybe it's just because I'm seeing him standing next to Rob Dillingham, but he looks kind of almost like a power forward.
Yeah, he's 6'6", not 6'7", or what is he?
I mean, he's 6'6" without shoes, so that's what we're used to. When a guy is listed at 6'7", 6'8". Right. So he's I mean, you'll see. You'll see in person. He's every bit of height and bulk. He looks like a man.
Yeah, he's gonna play. He's going to play. Mm-hmm. And so I'm ecstatic about him. And just to let the listeners know, we're going to stay open and positive about Rob Dillingham, that he'll be really good. I don't know what kind of career he's going to have yet, but I think he's going to be really good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I don't know. I do. I mean, I think so. They're going to do everything they can to make that happen. And I go back to I think what's happening in Minnesota, which is cool now, is it's that defensive culture, right? Where I think when you're playing on a team where everybody else plays defense, you can't be that one guy who does. You mentioned Monte Morris earlier this season or earlier this episode.
Yeah.
And he didn't come with a defensive reputation when the Wolves traded for him, but when he played, he guarded.
Yeah.
And I think that was just because it's I can't be the one guy on this team who is a weak link.
Right.
And they didn't have any defensive weak links last season.
Right.
Rob's going to come in and, be the one. But I think he talked about that pushing him to be like, hey, if everyone else is doing it, I got to do it, even if I'm undersized. So
I've got these silly questions that I'm not going to do today. I'll tell them to you, but this was when I was going to interview you after the draft. This is obnoxious.
My Montana Wi-Fi
yeah,
didn't work.
Your Montana trip. Oh, we're doing the Life Gorgeous quiz later. There'll be some Montana questions just to let you know.
Oh, jeez.
Is Rob Dillingham better than Johnny Flynn? Obnoxious question. You don't have to answer that one. And then here is my other one. Is Terrence Shannon Jr. better than Rashad McCants? So you don't have to answer either of those, but that's just me being a little obnoxious. But I guess what I wanted to ask you is, were you stunned that Tim Connelly somehow moved up to the 8th spot? Because I was like, how did that happen? Who did we give up? What's going on?
I'm like kind of mad I didn't think of that, right? Because what do we know going into this offseason? No money to spend on anybody. It was going to only be minimum contracts that they were going to be able to build the roster out with. So what way can you get a talented player in that you needed to add onto this team? And the only answer was the draft. And we were like, oh, they got a 1st-round pick this year. They got 27. They'll get someone, maybe Terrence Shannon Jr. But I think strategically, in the board game of being a general manager, that was a really smart move by Tim Connelly, because you're trading a pick 7 years down the road. And you're getting an influx of talent right now, when that's also in Ant's timeline. I think that we got to think about that part of it, the Ant, Jaden, Nas group. Now, Rob is the youngest person of that group there too. For people who don't know how the salary cap stuff is working, the Wolves are not going to be able to add players, in free agency for years, and they're going to start losing players. Craig's least favorite player on the team, Nickeil Alexander-Walker, he's going to probably leave at free agency next season. Naz Reid might leave here it's just the reality of the financial crunch. So I think it was super smart to, one, for this season, add some talent, and two, for the kind of, hopefully Ant's here, right, for 15 years. And you need other players that kind of fit his timeline. And how fun would it be to be able to say, for the next 5-8 years that the backcourt is Rob Dillingham and Anthony Edwards. So that could be really, really fun, right? That'd be a fun backcourt.
Just so people know, I want Terrence Shannon Jr. to be better than Naw, and I want Rob Dillingham to be better than Naw. But I love Naw. I'm just trying to win a championship, Dane.
You put him 9th in your rotation, man.
Yeah, I did. Let me just see. Yeah, because all I'm doing is, and this is not set in stone. This is me, and this is not at the beginning of the year. This is just saying Nas, Dillingham, Shannon. I want to, and you can't really do that. You got to put Naw in there for experience. So I guess you have to push Shannon down. But Shannon's going to play. I mean, I think some people were saying he's going to have a better rookie year than Dillingham, but he's got to get the playing time to do that.
Yeah. Right.
So how good is Tim Connelly? I'm like, we got Ant-Man, we got Tim Connelly. These guys are both pretty special.
Yeah, isn't that different, right? Well, and the funniest part to it, I'm out here at Summer League, and everybody is, they're talking about the Wolves. They're excited. I've been doing this for a long time. And
how many years have you been doing it?
I think this will be my 8th year. So the first Summer League I went to was 2017.
Okay.
Then I think there was 1 year. I was trying to figure this out the other day, how many times I've been out here for Summer League, because I'm sure they didn't do it over COVID, or maybe 2020. So anyways, been out here a lot of times. And it's always funny to get the perspective of what other people think of the Timberwolves, whether it's other executives I know from other teams or other media people. And when I started doing it, right, it was just everybody would just clown the Wolves, right?
Yeah.
And rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Was it? Because that was the Jimmy burning dumpster fire into Rosa's dumpster fire, Jared Culver, all that sort of stuff. And I'd be like, yeah, man, I know they're bad. But now it is like Tim Conley's best executive in the league, Anthony Edwards, all this sort of stuff. And the funniest thing to me with the executive stuff is how quickly, and hand raised here, like me too, where we're like, okay, now Tim Conley is the best GM in the league. 12, 15 months ago, the Rudy Gobert trade's the worst trade of all time. Tim Conley's an idiot. What is he doing? It's funny how that stuff moves. But I mean, what a bold move 2 years ago. Almost 2 years ago to the date that they traded for Rudy Gobert and then held, and believed it would get better. Obviously, they couldn't have traded him last summer, probably even if they wanted to.
Yeah.
But they put the same roster out there again, and they're like, no, this is going to be better. And they tell me that, I'd be like, okay, guys, I don't think so. So I think the vision that Conley has, the connections that he has to people throughout the league, and the people that he's hired, I think within his front office and the organization, it's probably in media, in sports media, the thing I've learned makes such a difference is the front office and the culture that sets, that impacts the floor. Like, we think they're just these guys up in the offices, whatever, getting ready for next year's draft. But they are the cultural tone setters along with the head coach. Yeah. And I think, and that's to give Finch credit too, because he was here right before and knew Conley from Denver, and it's like a remarkably normal team right now. And that has not been the case for a long time since I've been doing this. And it's like, oh, look, now here they are, Western Conference Finals, and with a future that's possible.
Yeah, one of your go-to phrases years ago was weirdest team ever, and you haven't said that in a long time. So we're in the top 4 teams in the league. Will we win a championship? Now, one of my questions is, did we miss an opportunity? Sometimes I remember when KG went there to the Celtics and they're going to gel. Well, we might win a championship. We'll win it now. Win it now. And I just always look at it as, can we play with the other top teams? And Denver, I thought, was the best. And I thought we could play with Boston. So I wanted to see if we get to the finals. Do you think we missed a championship opportunity, or you think we're going to have a better opportunity this coming year?
I think they missed a championship opportunity, but I also don't think they were ready for a championship opportunity, if that makes sense. Part of it is just, I don't think they got into the playoffs mentally in their minds, like thinking, we could be playing basketball for the next 2 months, right? Which is what it would have been if you would have gone to the NBA finals. And there was just being around the team, there was a real running out of gas sense, but it's because they didn't put enough gas in the tank, because I think it was like, all right, even the Phoenix series, man, remember that was I think Phoenix was favored to,
yes. My big concern was you got to get out of the first round and then you can exhale a little bit. And this is a terrible matchup. And the fact that we won 6 games in a row to start the playoffs is remarkable.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
And so my theory is this: a number of years ago, there was the Minneapolis Miracle when Stephon Diggs caught the pass, emotional win, didn't think they're going to win. And somebody put up a stat that I don't remember exactly, something to the effect, when there's a walk-off or a last second touchdown like that in the playoffs, the team that wins goes their next playoff game, they lose by 28 points or more, like some weird thing like that.
Huh.
And we got killed at the Philadelphia Eagles. And I said, after we beat Denver in game 7, I said, okay, we're going to lose game 1 at home. We're not ready. We're not, it's too much of an exhale. We just beat the best team in basketball. We were down 20. I still don't know how we won.
Dude.
Remember the Mike Conley steal? No one talks about. They talk about the 3-pointer that Ant made off the steal. Why did Conley come double team Jamal Murray and strip him, give it to Nas, who kicks it out? Unbelievable. Were you there at Denver?
I was, yeah, man.
I was,
I was,
and I heard the crowd was going crazy for the Wolves.
it was, oh man, there was that. I was actually talking to Derek, who works in PR for the Wolves, about that last night. Of just like, I left my media seat, went down into like the locker room area, and then about 30 minutes later, came back out to the floor. We were trying to figure out what the number was. We think there was over 3,000 Wolves fans.
Wow.
At that. And, what does a stadium hold? 15, 18?
Yeah. Yeah.
And they were all there. Like they all came and congregated back down, like in the lower.
But that doesn't make sense. That how can they come down during the game in the fourth quarter and get so loud?
No, I'm talking about after the game. They all
but I didn't.
But there was like a pocket behind the bench.
Right. Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
It was crazy in there. I mean, dude, it was 38-58, right? And I was like sitting there starting my like outline of, all right, like, this is how the season ended. I was typing that up, and then it all changed. That still doesn't really like make sense to me in my mind. But that's back to what we were saying about the missed opportunity thing, because I want to hear what you have to say about that too. I normally roll my eyes at the like didn't have enough gas in the tank, they were tired, all that sort of thing. But I think that how that series played out, Finch blown his knee out in Phoenix, in that way. Plus, like the whole team every player on the team had like a baby. Like Rudy had a baby, Nikhil, Jaden, the Rudy one. Rudy having a baby, I think I noticed like kind of a shift in him. I remember at the end of the season, just being around Rudy in the locker room, and I was like, this dude is locked in. Just like end of the regular season, going into Phoenix, and understandably, like he was like, hey, this might be my one opportunity. Mm-hmm. Like that was the sense I got from him. And then he has, he has a child, and he came back, and he didn't like. I'm not saying he played poorly. I think we've both had this in our careers before, where you're just like, you're extremely focused on work, and because of that, you have a great work year or great work month, and then once you kind of take your head out of that focus, there, you're just not as good at it. And I think that I particularly got that sense with Rudy.
Dane, what you're intimating is much worse than what I said about no. I'm just kidding. I'm just having fun. No, you're saying, okay, not quite the focus after the kid. I get it. Yeah. I think it was a missed opportunity, but I hold space that we're going to win a championship. But I'm one of these guys, and this is where I'm different. And Phil Jackson talks about our society. We're obsessed with the champion. No one cares about second place, et cetera, et cetera. The state of Minnesota, where I do not live, is obsessed with the Vikings haven't won. The Vikings haven't won. So it changes everything if we can be champions. It did change a lot when the Twins won 2 World Series. I'm the guy that's like, yes, I want to win a championship, but man, we're good, and I love being good. So the Sacramento Kings, I just really like that team that lost to the Lakers. I thought they played a better brand of basketball. I thought the refereeing was a joke. I thought David Stern was a businessman. I didn't like any of that. The Phoenix Suns did not win a championship. It was a pretty special team. Not that I love the way they played, 8 seconds or less. But so we're a good team, and we're going to be good for at least 5 years, maybe longer with Ant. And we have an opportunity as long as I don't see a juggernaut out there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. No, and I think that's just the exciting part about the NBA right now too, is like, I was kind of honestly like going into last season thinking Denver maybe was going to be a juggernaut. Yeah. But I mean, even since they won the championship, they lost Bruce Brown, they've lost Kentavious Caldwell-Pope. Like they're not like they are. I think Jokic is the best player in the world, but they're not a juggernaut. And like, I'm not to take anything away from the Celtics, but I'm not ready to go there yet with the Celtics either. That they're like the Warriors were
Yeah,
10
exactly.
10 years ago. It's
Well,
not
I
like
used to
that.
say if they have the 3 best shooters in the game, you're not going to win. And then they have 2 best shooters in the game. It's hard. It's really hard. But the problem I have with the Wolves, and this everyone's identified it already, but so I was at
Nickeil
games 3 and
Alexander
4.
Walker. That's
No,
the problem,
is the baby issue. No, it's games 3 and 4 in Minnesota against Denver and their offense. And I just said to anyone who would listen, I just think they're a better team because they score so easily. So defense is wonderful. We can say it wins championships, but it's a lot of effort, and good offense beats good defense. And it makes the game easier when you can score. So, but everyone's identified our offense. So Finchy knows, and they know we got to improve our offense. It just makes life easier when you can score. So we'll see how it is. We'll see how the offense is this year. Well, I mean, what do you break it down like crazy, but what do you think of, I've accepted the spacing with Rudy, and because he's so effective, it changes the whole defensive culture. So is that still an issue on offense, and the half court offense, big Rudy there with big KAT? Is that still an issue for you?
I think it's up to KAT to make it not be an issue. It doesn't have to be an issue.
Right.
Because there no longer is Kyle Anderson and Jordan McLaughlin on the team. Those were the real issue spacing moments when there was multiple non-shooters on the floor or multiple players that weren't guarded from the perimeter, because then it was for Ant, trying to drive to the basket. It's 2-3 bodies or, gap help on both sides there. Or it's Carl. I mean, the amount of times that Carl or Nas got stripped this season, just think about like a Carl drive to the basket, or even Nas too. And it's just because there was teams were like, yo, you guys got a bunch of guys who can get downhill and get to the basket. We are going to sacrifice the spacing, or sacrifice the perimeter players out there to try to take away the middle of the floor. And that's the right strategy against the Wolves. And it always is going to be, it's always going to be a little hard for Ant. Like when Ant is in his prime, he is not going to play with a player like Rudy Gobert, because Ant is going to need to get his 33 points a game, and it is going to look like, you mentioned Shai Gilgeous-Alexander before, it's going to be a spread floor look. Yeah. And he is just going to force teams, there won't be the resistance that Rudy just sitting there by the rim presents because his man is there. Yeah. Now, I think it's right, and this is where Tim Conley was correct. Ant was terrible at defense before Rudy got here. You needed to insulate Ant defensively and instill a defensive culture, which the presence of Rudy Gobert has done, right? Now it causes you some spacing issues on the offensive side of the floor, which Ant still overcomes. But overall, without Kyle Anderson just being left wide open in the corner, or Jordan McLaughlin left wide open on top, I think we're going to have way less of that's not going to pop as much. The spacing issues. Joe Ingles is going to need to be guarded. Rob Dillingham is going to need to be guarded. That's who you just replaced Kyle Anderson and Jordan McLaughlin with. So, or Terrence Shannon Jr. I think he's your 6th man of the year. We'll see about it. We'll see about his jump shot there too. But I don't see spacing to be as much of an issue this year, and I'm really curious to see how much that allows the offense to jump, because they were 17th last season. Like, if you had to guess, what do you think they will rank offensively next season?
Well, I want them to be in the top 10. But I don't know how they're. I'll take 9 in a heartbeat, and I'll take top 4 defense. But I don't know how much they're going to jump on offense. They were 17th. You said
17th, 17th on offense, 1st on defense, and they're going to get. They'll fall off of 1st defensively, probably, with Dillingham,
Not to test you, not to put you on the spot, but what was Boston defense and offense? They were top 10 in both, right?
I think they were top 3 in both, like 2nd, 3rd. Yeah. I figure it out here somewhere. But yeah, they were. I mean, we might be underselling them. They might be a little bit more juggernauty than.
That's what I kind of. But I guess I'm basing it on the regular season. We played them so well both times.
Right. Those
You know.
games were awesome, man.
The one in Boston was ridiculous.
Yeah, I was.
We were
that was-
undermanned. So
Yeah.
let me go to my guy who
first on offense, third on defense for
Oh.
Boston this season. Yeah.
first. Did you say first on offense?
First on offense, third on defense. Yeah.
Wow, I didn't know that.
They're
Who
good.
cares about the Eastern Conference? They coasted.
Right,
They had
yeah,
no
yeah, yeah.
challenge. They had. That's why it was so easy for them. We had to go through. We weren't ready for Dallas. We just weren't ready,
True.
and we didn't know who Dallas was because we took care of them in the regular season because people didn't play and they didn't make the trade. So Karl Anthony Towns is kind of my guy, but I've said the last few years with frustrated Wolves fans, I always say, hey, if you want to trade him, I will listen. Just tell me who we're getting. Because
Exactly.
I don't think we're getting. Yeah, who
That's
are we
it,
getting?
man.
And then I'll tell you. And I love him, and I was
That's
very disappointed with him in Dallas, except for the one game.
Mhm.
And it would have, it was really unfortunate. And what are your thoughts on Karl's future with the Wolves?
Yeah, like I've been asked that question, 10, 15 times since.
But it's still a
since
good
I've been out
question,
here.
Craig.
No, it is, and it's like you got to kind of peel it back a little bit, right? Like, and not to get all nerdy with the salary cap stuff, but Karl's making $50 million this year,
Yeah.
and so to make any trade work, you need to make that money work. So, I mean, what is the trade that happens, right? It would probably need to be 2 or 3 players for Karl. Would that help the Wolves?
Yeah.
If you got a couple of role players? No.
Nope.
They have role players. They have depth. We've been talking about that. So then you start thinking about, will you trade them for draft picks? No, that wouldn't make sense given where this team is trying to win a championship this season. I think, would you like to upgrade off of Karl? Would that help this team? Sure. But you have to find another player who's making similar money. And then how do you get the upgrade? Like what else are you putting in there? They don't have any picks. All the picks are gone.
Yeah.
So it's like, I think what I say to people when they say have to trade Karl, have to do it, I go, well, you have to trade Jaden McDaniels with them. Because that's probably what that is.
Yeah, yeah.
So you ready to let go of Jaden McDaniels? Like if I like Karl, I have a good relationship with Karl. I've covered him for 8 years. There's gonna come a time where it's right to move on from Karl Anthony Towns, and it'll probably be right for Karl Anthony Towns individually too to move on to something else. Economically, show me the trade. And not one of those trades on the trade machine where it's just like, it grossly favors the Wolves. I've just never seen a trade that somebody's put to me that's a Karl Anthony Towns trade, and I go, yeah, the other team should do that. You know what I'm saying? Like this, I never see a fair Karl Anthony Towns trade, and so I think like until that presents itself. Or until some other players start making more money like that, and you can kind of put him in other deals. I don't. You're stuck with him. Like I think he's gonna be here unless somehow the New York thing happens.
Yeah. Well, I actually am a big Karl fan, and I know the frustration. He still reaches way too much. So, for example, he played Jokic better than anybody on the roster, although Nas. He got a big block there at the end. I was surprised because in the regular season, Jokic ate up slow-mo and ate up Nas, and only Karl somehow can, because of his size or something, can match up. Just like against Dallas, only slow-mo could play Luka. Jaden McDaniels, it didn't really matter.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't strong enough.
Yep.
So I'm a Karl fan, and I hope he wins a championship with the Wolves. And he's an offensive savant, although he can't do a Brandon Ingram pull-up, which bothers me. That would change his game if he could do that. If he could just 3 hard dribbles to the right and pull up. You know what I'm saying?
Do you watch game 1 of the NBA Finals? Remember Porzingis had like 20 in the first half?
I did not see it, but I heard about it. And
it was it's good you didn't watch it, particularly if you talk about the mid-range thing. Because, man, I'm watching that, and they're just like using Porzingis to like set a screen, get a switch. He's got like a little 6'5" dude on him now. He set the screen for Drew Holiday or whatever. And then, you know what? He just went to the elbow.
Yeah.
And he's got little, like, Josh Green on him. Just over his head.
Yeah.
20 points. And, like, or he was just ready to gun from, like, deep from 3. And I'm sitting there and I'm like, holy shit. Like, this is all Carl had to do. This is all Carl had to do. Because it's literally against Dallas.
Yeah.
You know? And, I mean, it sucks because that's the last thing on our mind is the Dallas series. And that was a major letdown from Carl. But we should always say it within the context of what he did against Denver. Because I mean, if Karl Anthony Towns couldn't have played in the Denver series, the Wolves might have got swept.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Rudy can't hold Jokic at all. They would have got killed.
Speaking of Boston, and now we played them very well in the regular season, but I sometimes watch and I see how effortless some of these teams score. And I go, God, can the Wolves? It's so easy for these other teams to score.
Why is that with the Wolves?
And it's such effort for laboring for Ant to, make his moves and get to the rim and score. And these other guys are just swinging the ball. And it's tough, right?
It's the spread floor thing, man.
Yeah.
I mean, Boston's playing 5 out. They don't have Rudy sitting in the dunker spot there, and they got shooters. All 5 of those guys can shoot it. Like, that's why the Wolves needed to add shooting. In Rob Dillingham and Joe Ingles, they got that. And it's going to cost them defensively, but it now allows you to, they can configure a 5-out offense when Rudy's off the floor, right? Like KAT at the 5, Nas at the 4, Shannon at the 3, Ant, Mike Conley out there. Like, that now is the style of basketball Boston's playing.
Looking at my questions here. Okay, let me see. Okay, because
can I ask you a question? Can I ask you a question related to the so what level do they need to get to next year for you to, be pleased with what the season was? Or what is the expectation for you going into next season? I've been having this conversation out there.
Well,
regular season and postseason.
Yeah. Prior to last year, before the season, my goal was, I was so pleased with how we played against Denver in Game 5. Remember when we lost 4-1? I said, okay, I think we're there. I think we're close. So I wanted to finish in the top 4 in the West. That was I wanted home court in the first round, and I wanted to get out of the first round. And when I had you on the podcast this year, and I said prediction during the magical regular season, you said, I think you said we will get out of the first round, but that's it. And I said, we'll get to the Western Conference Finals as long as we don't play Denver in the second round. That's what I said.
Yeah, we were both scared of that. Yeah, that matchup. You did say that. I remember that. That's
But let's see. So I thought we really kind of overachieved. It's hard, number 1 defense. That was I'm going to say I want to definitely want to finish top 4 in the West. I could push it and say, let's finish top 3. And I'd like to get to the Western Conference Finals again. I'm measured when I say that because I don't know how good OKC is going to be with Harkenstein. And who else did they get? They got somebody else.
Caruso.
Oh, right. Alex Caruso. So I don't know how good they're going to be. Trying to think of what teams I'm concerned with. I know it's OKC. Is there somebody else I should be concerned with?
I mean, I feel like the one team people are putting into that group now that was totally not there a year ago is maybe Memphis coming back.
Oh, that's right. Yep. I'm not thinking about Memphis at all.
I mean, maybe seems like a lot, but if Zach Edey can play right away and that he's getting a chemistry with John Morant, I mean, that's the question is can Ja come back and be that? But they might be in that group. The Clippers are out of that group now, right? Like they were kind of in the mix up at the top with the Wolves and Nuggets and Thunder last season. I mean, I think the West is going to be really good, top to that median level of the Western Conference or average, whatever is going to be very good. But yeah, if we're looking at the top of it, OKC, Minnesota, Denver, Dallas. Like every single one of those teams, I can convince myself that they take a little step back.
Dallas added Clay. We'll see what he has left in the tank.
Mhm.
I know they're dysfunctional and we spanked them, but I still get concerned with Phoenix because of the shooting. And that includes Grayson Allen as the fourth 3-point shooter. So we'll see how it goes.
I think Phoenix is a good one to bring up. And I think you can point to the Wolves of year one of Rudy didn't go well, getting used to it. I think there's something to that. I think Phoenix will be in the mix next season. New coach, all Bud, all that. Like,
right.
I think they deserve to be in that group.
I used to kind of like Devin Booker. Now I can't stand him because I thought he did a couple dirty plays against Ant in the playoffs, including going into his knee once. It really bothered, and Ant was bothered by it. But anyway.
Booker has I mean, as a player, I think he's, I love his game. I think he's underrated, but he really has got more of that like chippy, just like messing with you stuff.
Yeah.
He just like doesn't care. He's just like, he goes, I don't care if you hate me. Kind of like our boy Dacian Nix.
Oh, I love Dacian Nix. Okay. They extended, they're paying the luxury tax. Is there any way that the way they're spending, and Glenn Taylor approves this, is there any way this is helping Glenn Taylor in arbitration? I guess not. I guess I'm answering my own question, but the NBA likes that he's spending. So let's go to the ownership thing briefly, because I know it's dead quiet. I've checked with people. No one's saying anything.
Yeah.
But there is a scenario. If A-Rod and Mark Lowry win, they still have to be approved by the NBA, which isn't a guarantee. Go ahead. What do you know right now?
Yeah. I mean, what we're at right now, for people who don't know, is it went to a mediation and arbitration process because it was the two siblings bickering, Mark and Alex versus Glenn Taylor. Went to the mediation to see if they could, figure it out as individuals. No, that lasted like an hour. And so now we're in arbitration. And as I understand it, what that is going to dig into is, were there any technicalities that were missed by Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez in their contract or their payments, or was it a material breach of the contract that they missed? And it's honestly, Craig, it's like it's so bizarre talking to people on both sides of it, how certain they both are that their side is correct. Of like, what in the world are Glenn and these people doing? You hear from the Mark and Alex side, and then from the Glenn side, it's, they're the worst guys ever. They missed the payments. They did all this and that. It's been very difficult to like get an understanding of truth in the whole process of it. And, like, quite frankly, thought it was disgusting that even all came out. I was kind of like even mad. We had Mark and Alex on my show.
Good job, by the way. That was a good job.
But I'm also like, now I'm playing a small cog in this stupid, childish machine.
It's business. Dane, this is big time. This isn't the little podcasts. This is major cash flow. This is a beautiful owner's suite that I've been invited to. And when I go, I'm bringing you in there. We're going to drink before the game.
I've been in there.
Oh yeah. How is it?
Well, I thought you said you.
No. I've been invited. But I didn't go out to the Dallas series. I sang out in the Lexus Club. So how is it? It's nice, right?
It's sick. It's like every wall.
Don't let Kyle Tighe in there. He'll slip and he'll drink. He's a drinker.
He's a drinker.
So will the ownership battle, won't it end prior to tip off the regular season in October,
Not
November?
Necessarily. Not necessarily. I've heard at the earliest, like August, September.
Okay.
That would be, but I mean, as we know, in legal processes, the early end of the timeline very rarely comes through. I wouldn't be surprised at all if we're still dealing with some of this crap come the beginning of next season, which is a bummer, man. It's just dumb. It's like, I don't know. We're going to look back. Like we were saying before, how the organization is, this is different than 2017 and Jimmy and Tibbs and all that. Like this is the one element that still feels like same old Timberwolves. And it's because Glenn's involved, man.
Well, Glenn changed his mind, is my understanding. He changed his mind, and now he has a plan for his wife, Becky, to own the team when he passes, but maybe he could have done that earlier prior to saying, I want to sell it to somebody.
But
anywho,
it just made no sense. I don't, the whole thing, like because I've been covering this going back to when the sale originally happened. Like Glenn hired a consulting firm to sell the team back in 2019 and, or beginning of 2020. And then, it goes like a year and they haven't been able to sell the team because shocker, like nobody really wanted to just drop 1.5 billion when we were in the middle of COVID.
Right.
So then Glenn gets like all up in arms and like, I want to sell the team. I'm going to take over. I'm going to handle this on myself. And he does. And in his handling it himself, finds Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez, where they like apparently signed some agreement on like legal pad or whatever while they're having burgers in Mankato. It's like, I don't know if the hot dog meme thing is going to register with you, but it's like, we're trying to figure out who did this thing, man. It's Glenn Taylor. It's Glenn Taylor. They're in this situation because Glenn Taylor chose this situation.
Yeah.
Now, Mark and Alex, I don't know. I don't know if they got their cash apps on there on time and every single thing, but Glenn made this whole thing happen. And every issue that goes back in the history of the Timberwolves, it's like the common denominator is it's Glenn Taylor or somebody Glenn Taylor hired or something. Glenn was just like, I'm going to take this over and do it myself. I don't know if Mark and Alex are going to be perfect owners when they come in, but I'll tell you, man, I think the best thing if you're a Minnesota Timberwolves fan is get something different. It's just time to get a new set of problems. I don't know what Mark and Alex will do,
right?
But I'm just so done with it, man. I'm so done with the Glenn stuff.
The good news is Tim Connelly is hired. Hopefully he'll stay for a long time.
He's got an opt-out though. He's got
an opt-out
after a year.
I said hopefully he stays for a long time.
He's gone if Glenn Taylor wins. He's gone.
Maybe. Oh, okay. You sure? You're guessing.
Tim Connelly was hired by Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez. Tim Connelly signed a 5-year contract with with an opt-out after 2 years when the ownership was supposed to have changed after 2 years. Why would you put in a 2-year opt-out clause if you didn't want to only work for Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez? Oh, wait, now they're in a legal agreement and he pushed out his opt-out clause for one more season. Every detail lines up to say that Tim Connelly wants to work for Mark Lowry and Alex Rodriguez and not Glenn Taylor.
If Tim Connelly loses, I have inside information that they're going to offer a co-presidency to Craig Kilborn and Dane Moore to run the whole thing.
Yes.
And you can, and I'm a trade in awe. Why don't you take Tim Connelly out to Mason Margot and make him feel at home?
That's Rudy's spot, man. I live right by Mason Margot. Rudy
Good.
goes there all the time.
Good.
Yeah, it's a great spot.
They just added a new dish, a lobster bisque pot pie. I just got that info from Charlie Swanson. Okay. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the Life Gorgeous quiz. Simple questions, profound insights. And I'm very looking forward to my last question, which is a basketball question, but I just remembered it. But first, Life Gorgeous quiz. Did you go to Bozeman, Montana on your trip recently to Montana?
I flew out of Bozeman. I was
Gallatin Valley.
Yeah.
I think is what it's called. The airport out there. Yes.
Gallatin. Yeah.
Gallatin, I think.
Yeah. I was on that road. No, it was weird. I had two weddings on back-to-back weekends in Montana in different places in Montana. So we were kind of like in Missoula for the first weekend and then drove over to Big Sky for the second weekend. So I was there over the 4th of July.
Had you been to Montana before?
Man, I'd never been before.
What did you think? I haven't been there in years, but I went to school in Bozeman. I've been to Missoula is the big metropolis.
Yeah. I was like,
it's pretty, right? It's pretty.
I was blown away.
Yeah.
Like
the mountains.
I've been to Colorado a bunch of times.
Yeah,
I'm like, all right, mountains, whatever. Or, here I'm in Vegas right now. I see some mountains out my window. But I'm doing that drive, like 5.5 hour drive from Missoula to Big Sky, Bozeman area. And it was the whole time, like the gigantic mountains, the whole time through the whole way. It was, I'm not the biggest. I would never live in Montana personally. Right. My mom gave me a book for my birthday last year that was titled "Get Outside." So I need to work on going outside more often and enjoying hiking and that sort of thing. But if there's a place to do it, it's Montana, man. It's beautiful out there.
Did you see Old Faithful?
No.
The guys are down in Yellow. You didn't go down to Yellowstone. Okay.
No, it does because we had the weddings and stuff like that. I was really just kind of perched up in Big Sky, which was awesome.
Even though you're a Wolves fanatic, I still want to pressure you on the Vikings because I care about the Vikings.
You really
and the Timberwolves.
So when you think about me,
mm-hmm.
you think of me as a Wolves fanatic?
Well, a Wolves hardcore. You do a great job diving into the Timberwolves. You do a great public service for a Wolves fan. We all applaud you. So I say fanatic. I mean, you're hardcore.
Yeah.
You watch a lot of film, Dane. You'll show a pick and roll from game 3 if you like how it looked.
It's just funny. Like I don't know. Like doing it for a job, you like let go of some of the
fandom,
just the emotional attachment to it, right? And like I said, when I was covering the team, back in the day, like they just lost all the time. So that gets like stomped out of you because if I was like, I wouldn't be able to work if I was like, oh man, so Carl 9th loss in a row. Like, what do you think? Like you got to go do that stuff still, no matter what. So that really, that kind of stomped it out of me.
It's a good point because when I worked in ESPN, it's a job. And now I'm more of a fan now. I just watch Wolves and I watch Vikings and it's fun. Right. And then I can watch movies. I don't have to be well-rounded on the sports and I don't want to disappoint people, but I get nervous or I get frustrated and I turn games off and I say, I'm going to follow the score on my phone, go have a martini, and then come back and watch game 7, the second half. And that's exactly what I did. It was electric. Yeah. I was at a bar. We were down 20. I said, oh my God, we're down 1 going into the 4th to Princess Jerry. And then with 5 minutes left, I said, I'm not doing the roller coaster. We're going to wait until I think the game's over. 10 minutes after, it's a 2.5 hour game. I'll wait till 2 hours and 40 minutes. I opened my phone. Oh my God, I got a bunch of texts. Everyone's going crazy. Let's go home and watch it. I can't believe it. And then I got so frustrated, even though I was watching it after the fact, that Carl threw it at, didn't call the timeout on the end line. It was tipped out of bounds. I thought it was off of Denver, and they gave it to Denver. Remember that play where Carl's running the baseline? Oh, I can't handle that. I've been watching too much hoop. I'm a perfectionist. I don't like turnovers, and I like high field goal percentage. And then you win games.
Who do you text most about the Timberwolves? Like who's your Wolves
There's
you don't got a Wolves group chat?
There are a couple guys. There's this guy named Scott Shapiro who works at Fox Sports with he's in radio.
Oh, yeah, you introduced me to him when I was out there at the Lakers.
Okay. Yeah. And he
like an Edina guy, right?
Yeah, he's Edina. Yeah. And Phil Mackey and John Krasinski and all these guys. And my brother I text a lot. My brother was on the Naz Reid train as soon as we drafted him because he roots for underdogs. He was an Eldon Campbell fan, so he roots for underdogs. Anyways, it's a magical time to be a Wolves fan, Dane.
It's my theory is everybody's got a little like Wolves group chat, Oh
yeah,
it's just that group of people where you're like planting your flag on. Right now, I'm sure a lot of the group messages are blowing up about Terrence Shannon Jr.
Oh.
And those group messages, that's a cool thing. That was, to me, the coolest thing about this season is just because, I'm from Minnesota and, know a lot of people playing basketball there growing up. Like that community of people that actually, we're joking about Johnny Flynn and stuff like that.
Yeah.
That watched like a lot of the games that season, or watched the Jarrett Culver, or watched Michael Beasley, Wes Johnson, those teams. Like those groups of people were actually still watching. They might not have been at Target Center paying $100 to go watch the team get killed, but I know those people, and they were still sitting down after they put the kids to bed and watching the Wolves play, even when they were 17 and whatever. And that was cool for them.
I was hardcore because I would just say I would enjoy the 17 wins. I'm glad we have a team. And then it's the honeymoon period. When you draft, I was so fired up for Rashad McCants because he's so talented. He had 27 at the Knicks. Wesley Johnson made some shots early on. I go, this guy can shoot. He couldn't necessarily, So I'm now in that honeymoon period where I want Rob Dillingham and TJ to be the greatest players ever. That's why I put him in my rotation right now. I'm just excited. I'm excited. Okay, here's my question. Okay. It's a football question. What will the Vikings record be this year? They have a tough schedule. The first 7 games are very difficult. What will do you follow the Vikings, and what will their record be?
I followed the NFL.
Oh.
I like that is I grew up, whatever. Oh my God. Like I grew up watching all the sports, but once I don't know if you experienced this or not, but like, I guess you were covering all sports when you're with ESPN, but you kind of like, I do watch a lot of film. I watch a lot of basketball. So the other sports just kind of like trickle away, except Sundays. I still keep I keep that circled I got the Vikings up on like the iPad, and then I got Red Zone up on the, on the big screen there. So I'm a little bit better, a significantly more informed Vikings fan in the fall, but I don't know. What are people saying? Like 9-8?
I always say I will take 8-9. It might be a little rough. They're picking the Vikings to finish last in the division. They've got Detroit, Green Bay, Chicago ahead of them now because of the rookie quarterback and the unknown of Sam Darnold. So I'll take 8-9. And we do have a much tougher schedule than Chicago, which drives me up the wall. But that's the way life is.
But do we even really know how tough a schedule like?
Well, people sometimes don't look at it like I do, and they say, do we really know how good these teams are? This is what bothers me. And then we're going to move to another Vikings question. When Zim was the coach, and I liked him because he played hard, he played defense. Craigers didn't play defense. There's a long story there, but that's okay. I loved Mike Zimmer. And every year out of the division, they had to fly to Seattle, and I hated it. Every year, every regular season. So that's what I mean by tough schedule. I look at the road games out of the division. That's how I judge how tough a schedule is.
Okay.
So anyways, next Vikings question. Will J.J. McCarthy have a better career than Kirk Cousins? Go.
I can't stand watching Kirk. Or just can't stand him as a human
Tell me
being.
why. Tell me why you don't like watching him play, because there's a reason I don't like watching him play.
I mean, it's just the conservative nature of. I mean, I grew up a huge Vikings fan, like '98. That was like Randall Cunningham, the Dante days. Like that was the type of football that when I fell in love with the NFL, when I fell in love with the Vikings, was the quarterback that, took risks. And I'm not, I think like I would like Kirk Cousins more if he like was that type of player in basketball, maybe because I just understand the value of precision more in basketball. But I just find I found the last however many years Kirk Cousins has been on the team to just be, as purely a fan who's only tuning in for entertainment purposes, bored. I've just been so bored.
Well,
by the Vikings
I think he's efficient. He is a very accurate passer. But what bothers me is I see these guys. Jimmy Garoppolo, who's not supposed to be as good as Kirk, is more mobile. It's his mobility. It's him off schedule, moving out of the pocket and making a pass. And Sam Darnold, I don't know how he's going to do, but he is mobile and he can move. And I like gunslingers. So I'm
I'm
pulling for
excited.
Sam Darnold. He's going to throw some
I'm excited
picks.
for Sam Darnold.
Yeah, he's going to throw some picks, but he's with a good team.
What's Kirk Cousins' NBA player comp? Who is Kirk Cousins?
Okay, I'm thinking of I had a couple guys that didn't make it, like Bobby Hurley didn't make it in the league, but I was trying to think of a boring white guy.
Yeah.
It's
Sam
not
Hauser.
Sam Hauser. Well, he's such a dead eye though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't do that. Officially.
I'm trying to think because this other guy's Matthew Dellavedova is a dirty player, and Kirk's nothing like that. But I'm trying to think of somebody who wasn't particularly skilled. But I don't know. That's a good question.
What about Darnold? Who's maybe
Sam Darnold is Bobby Sura. I just like that Bobby Sura was a good athlete. I don't know if you remember him. Craig Elo. Yeah. Craig Elo. Good athlete.
We're getting through all the white dudes from the 90s right here.
Okay, now this is my final question, and I'm excited about this one. There's a backstory, but I'm going to give you the backstory afterwards.
Okay.
Who's a better basketball player, Kobe Bryant or Tim Duncan?
Tim Duncan.
Thank you. You're a good person. You're a very good person. Now, can I give you the backstory?
Yeah.
Do you know the ESPN reporter Dave McMenamin?
Yeah, I was with him yesterday.
Okay. So I know Dave. I'm actually having dinner with him this week, and Malika. He wants me to meet Malika. Group of us are going.
Malika's great. She covered the Wolves for a year, 2017-18. The Tibbs Jimmy year.
Oh, okay. As an ESPN reporter?
Yeah. She was just a writer at that point. And I was I had to I was like, these are the Skyways. She called them Skywalkers. I was like, it's a Skyway. Yeah. Anyways.
So I know Dave. He lives near me, actually.
Okay.
And a couple of years ago, we had our first drink together and we talked hoop. Mm-hmm. And I told him some stories about I don't do it anymore because it's tragic that Kobe Bryant passed away. But there was a time when I would go out to different restaurants and bars and say, hey, who's better, Kobe or LeBron, who's now on the Lakers?
Yeah.
And some of these guys, when you're a Kobe fan, you think he's the greatest thing ever.
Oh, yeah, man.
And now the good news is Dave McMenamin realizes that LeBron is better. Now, Dave is from Philly, so maybe that's why he likes Kobe so much. But he's the one. As we were having drinks, I talked about how I have a real issue with Kobe's shot selection and, as a result, his field goal percentage. He's a better outside shooter than LeBron and D Wade, but he shoots 44, 45%. They shoot 49, 50% because they take better shots. And I think his floor game is just really offensive how he takes awful shots. Yeah. And he wants to wow the crowd. I'm double teamed. I can still score. I don't care that Pau Gasol's open underneath. I just really didn't like his game. So Dave goes, he brings it up to me. He says, well, who's better? Kobe or Tim Duncan? I go, Tim Duncan. He goes, not even close. It's Kobe. It's not even close. And I got to tell you, he did an article on me during the playoffs, and we were in Minneapolis, and he wants to follow me around. So I'm doing Dan Barrero at Target Center, and Dan sees that I'm with Dave McMenamin, and Dan says, let's have Dave on for a while. I go, great. So I said on air, hey, Dan.
In the little bird cage up there?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I said, we have a little argument here. Maybe you can help. Who's better, Kobe or Tim Duncan? He goes, well, he goes, I've never heard that question. Like, what? Because you're comparing a power forward and a guard, but they're contemporaries, Yeah. And Dan goes, well, I got to go Duncan. And Dave's all, he's not happy. And Dave goes, it's not even close. And Dan goes, well, now I'm getting irritated because McMenamin thinks it's not even close. So it's one of those things where I don't know if you're not out here in LA, but Kobe fans, they think Kobe is.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm like already getting ready for like the angry emails and DMs just from. So thank you for that.
So what is your issue with Kobe? His shot selection is mine.
So this is the way I would think of it. Kobe played at that time where, much like Michael did, right, where you could kind of just operate from that 15, 16 feet and the game was over. And obviously Kobe was great, and that field goal percentage worked. Kobe won, right? I mean, he played the same way he did his whole career, and his efficiency wasn't what you want it to be, or maybe what I want it to be, but it worked. It would not work in today's NBA as everything people are taking more threes and the point per shot, how that works in today's NBA and a spread floor, all that. I mean, it doesn't matter if you're Kobe Bryant or even, Michael Jordan, a team can't afford to have a player shoot, 10, 15 mid-range shots unless they're going to be making them at a significantly higher than 50% clip,
Right.
which the only two players in the NBA shot over 50% from mid-range this season on over 200 attempts. And it was Kevin Durant.
I was going to guess Kevin Durant. Okay.
Sure. Yep.
Can I guess the second one?
The second one? Yeah. I don't think you're going to get it.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
But you can.
Steph doesn't shoot those. No. I'm not saying Steph. I'm going to do my not saying and name 5 guys I'm not saying. No. Let's see. Is it just give me Western? Give me Western. Is it in the East?
Yes.
Jason Tatum or Jaylen Brown?
No.
Oh.
Come on, think about a
player. Jalen Brunson.
No.
Oh.
Embiid.
Oh. I'm sorry.
Embiid. But that's, you get what I'm saying? Like Kobe, that at that volume, it's just because even 50% from mid range is 1 point per shot, right? That's the equivalent of a 33% 3-point shot. Yeah. That is literally, and it's hard to shoot 50% from. It's not hard to make 33% of your threes. It's hard to make 50% to make mid range shots at a 50% clip. And so Tim Duncan, his game. And how he played, I think more so within a team context, right?
Yeah.
I think he would fit this NBA better than Kobe Bryant would.
Yeah.
Not that that's necessarily what we're measuring, but that's how I think about it.
I don't like volume shooters. I never liked Allen Iverson. I didn't like Kobe Bryant. Thank you, Dane. That was fun.
Yeah. I think Rob Dillingham might be a volume shooter too.
I know. No, that's what I'm trying to figure out if he is. Because that's why I asked. He's not a pure shooter. How good a shooter is he? And that's what I'm based on the first 2 games. He seems like a volume shooter, and I may have to make adjustments.
It's going to need to be something that and Wolves fans are going to need to be patient with, right? We're going to have to constantly be reminding ourselves, this dude's 19, right?
The other thing I don't know about him is I don't know if he's a streak shooter. You know how Jamal Crawford would get hot and make 5 in a row? I don't know if Dillingham can make 5 in a row. And but we'll have to.
He did at Kentucky a bit.
Kentucky. Well, his shooting percentage.
He's passing it more though, right?
And I like his passing, and I think he has. I think his passes. I'm not concerned. I don't see amazing vision in the Steve Nash, Jason Kidd. I don't see that with Mike Conley. I just see good, smart passes.
Yes.
And that's all you need to do.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? There's only one slow-mo. Ingles will throw some no-looks. Mm-hmm. That's about it.
That's the hope is it's Trae Young. And a lot of what makes Trae Young special is his passing. And that doesn't, a lot of people think about the flopping or they think about him taking all these deep shots. What makes Trae Young like an all-star caliber player is that he's an elite playmaker too. And so if all the things come together with Dillingham, that's definitely going to be part of the calculus. I'm nervous, man. I'm nervous for it's November and he's getting cooked on defense and maybe he's shooting 28%.
Bring it on.
Yeah. They got that. No, I don't know. It's so easy to get caught. Watch Dillingham go 7 of 8 from 3 tomorrow and we'll be
I can't wait to watch it. All right, brother. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. Well, we got to do our annual. You come on my pod at the beginning of the season.
At the Falling Knife. Is that what it's called?
Oh yeah. We could do that. Are you going to come? Now apparently you get on airplanes again. And
yeah, I usually now just come out for the playoffs, but we'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's our show, ladies and gentlemen. I want to thank Dane Moore. We'll see you next time. And remember, young people, I'm proud of you.
I love the life gorgeous. Its torso is so tight.